There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes that the pain he carries is not just in his body but buried deep in the mind. A quiet pain, subtle, unseen, but it controls everything. And here's the truth: you can chase success. You can lift the weights, you can attract women, but if your mind is wounded, you will never feel whole. Because a broken mind makes everything feel heavier. It whispers lies when you try to rest. It distracts you when you try to focus. It sabotages you the moment life starts getting better. This is not weakness. This is unhealed energy left to rot because we were never taught how to face it. But healing is not soft. Healing is not easy. Healing is a warrior's work. It is the hardest path a man can walk. To sit with himself in silence, to meet his pain without running, to forgive what he can't forget, and to choose, every single day, to respond with clarity instead of chaos. Because when you heal the mind, you don't just survive, you begin to live. If you never slow down enough to face your mind, you will keep running from the same invisible enemy for the rest of your life. A man with an unhealed mind often looks strong from the outside. He might have the body, the job, the confidence in his voice. But beneath that surface, there is a storm he can't name, a heaviness that lingers in quiet moments, a restlessness that follows him even when nothing is wrong. That's the cost of an unhealed mind. It doesn't just cause suffering. It steals your life. You see, we are not only shaped by what happens to us, we are shaped even more deeply by how we hold on to what happens. And most men hold on for far too long. We were never taught how to process pain. We were told to bury it. Distract from it, outwork it, but what you bury doesn't die. It grows roots. And those roots start twisting around your identity, your habits, your relationships, your sense of worth. And before you even notice, you're not living from your truth anymore. You're living from your wound. This is why healing the mind is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's survival. Because until you face that part of you, the broken part, you will repeat the same patterns. No matter how much you level up. There's a reason some men sabotage good relationships. A reason they feel empty even after they achieve their goals. A reason they explode over small things. It's not because they are weak, it's because they are unhealed. And here is the painful truth: an unhealed man will hurt the people he loves. Not because he wants to, but because pain leaks, and it always finds a way out through anger, through withdrawal, through chasing distractions, through addiction to attention, validation, or control. It seeps through the cracks, but the first step, the real first step, is not to change your outer world. It's not to fix your career or your body or your relationships. The first step is to stop running, to stop distracting, to sit, to be still long enough to hear what your mind has been holding. Ask yourself, what am I still angry about that I pretend doesn't affect me? What old memory still makes me clench my fists or avoid eye contact? What am I afraid of feeling again? Because awareness is the door. Nothing can be healed if you don't first see it. And yes, it will hurt. It will shake the version of yourself that you've built around pretending. But that pain, that confrontation, it's not breaking you, it's breaking you open. This is what true strength looks like. Not the man who never falls, but the man who dares to rise with truth in his eyes. When you start healing the mind, life begins to shift. Not dramatically, not instantly, but deeply. You respond differently. You listen more clearly. You stop needing noise to escape silence. You begin to feel peace where you once felt pressure. That's healing. It's not just about feeling better. It's about being free. free from the loop of repeating old patterns, free from the belief that you're broken or not enough, free from chasing approval from people who don't even understand you, free from the hidden fear that something inside you is too ugly to face. You're not too far gone, you're not too damaged, you're not alone. Every strong man you've ever admired healing is the path that made him sharp. You must understand, an unhealed mind is like a foggy mirror. You can't see yourself. You can't see others. You can't make clean decisions. You keep reacting from pain instead of responding from wisdom. So let this be the beginning. Not a dramatic transformation, but a quiet choice to stop avoiding yourself, sit in silence, reflect on the patterns, speak the truth you've been holding inside, cry if you need to, forgive what you swore you'd carry forever, and breathe, because when your mind begins to heal, your life finally begins to live. Pain is not your enemy. It may sound strange to say that, especially to a man who's been carrying pain for years. Maybe it came from betrayal, from rejection, from being unseen or unvalued, or maybe it's the pain of not becoming the man you thought you'd be by now. But regardless of where it came from, the truth is the same. Your pain was never here to punish you. It was sent to teach you. But that lesson is only revealed if you are willing to listen. Listen to the message underneath the discomfort. You see, pain is a signal. It's not a verdict. It's not a life sentence telling you you're broken or weak. It's your mind's way of saying, something here is unresolved. It's a tap on the shoulder from your inner world. A whisper that becomes a scream when ignored, and that scream, if you don't pause to understand it, will drive your behavior in ways you don't even recognize. Most men try to numb the pain. They silence it with achievement. They drown it in pleasure. They bury it in distractions that keep them busy but empty. But ignoring pain doesn't remove it. It just gives it more power, because unaddressed pain becomes your compass. It starts making your decisions for you. You avoid love because it hurt you once. You reject opportunities because you're afraid of failure. You chase validation because you never felt enough, and you tell yourself stories, I don't care, I'm fine, that's just who I am, because it's easier than facing the truth. But when you finally stop numbing and begin noticing, something changes. You realize the pain wasn't senseless. It was sacred. It was pointing to something that needs your attention, something that must be understood before it can be released. Like a splinter, it hurts more when you touch it. But if you never touch it, it festers, it gets infected. And the infection spreads, so look within. What are the patterns in your life that are tied to pain? Where do you get triggered over and over again? Which part of your life feels stuck, tight, heavy? These are not coincidences. They are signs, markers, guideposts pointing you inward. The wound is not the problem. The silence around it is. It's not about blaming others or reliving your past endlessly. It's about permitting yourself to feel what you never allowed yourself to feel before. Anger, grief, disappointment, abandonment, these emotions don't define you, but they do need your attention. And once you feel them, once you name them and stop hiding from them, they lose their grip. Because the pain you look at softens. The fear you speak loosens. The memory you confront loses its power to dictate your future. That's the gift. Your pain, when held with awareness, becomes fuel for wisdom. You become more compassionate, more grounded. You start to see others differently because you've finally seen yourself fully. And here's something most men don't realize. Your pain is not unique. It feels isolating, but it's universal. Every man carries something. The difference is that some are brave enough to bring their pain into the light, and others choose to let it shape them in the dark. Which one will you be? You don't have to be perfect to begin this process. You just need to be honest. Because healing doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from asking better questions. What is this pain asking of me? What truth have I been avoiding? Who must I become to move through this stronger, not scarred? You were not meant to live in constant fight or flight. You were not meant to be numb. You were not meant to wake up dreading the day, reliving the past, or fearing the future. You were meant to be clear, to move with presence, to act with intention, to speak from truth, not trauma. So the next time pain visits you, pause, don't run, don't numb, don't distract, breathe, feel, listen. And remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the beginning of understanding. And understanding is the first step toward freedom. There is a kind of work that no one applauds, no one sees it, no one posts about it, no one even knows it's happening. It's not dramatic, it's not loud. It happens behind closed doors in the silence, in the stillness, when a man decides that he is no longer okay with who he has been. This is the quiet work of rebuilding yourself. It is not a single act, but a series of small decisions. A decision to stop reacting out of anger, to stop using distractions to avoid pain, to stop waiting for someone else to save you, fix you, or validate you. Rebuilding begins when you take ownership of your patterns, your mindset, your energy. It's uncomfortable at first because, for so long, it felt easier to blame circumstances, the past, or other people. But eventually, you look in the mirror and realize no one is coming to rescue you, and that is your liberation. Because once you accept that it's on you, you stop waiting, you start building brick by brick, breath by breath. And it's slow, make no mistake. You will not feel inspired every day. Some days you'll question everything. Other days you'll want to quit. But the path is not meant to be easy. It's meant to make you earn your transformation. You must understand, we don't rise by accident, we rise by ritual. That means showing up for yourself, especially when you don't feel like it. It means meditation instead of scrolling. It means journaling your thoughts instead of running from them. It means choosing solitude instead of numbing through company. It means saying no to the old life even when it's still calling you. Because healing is not just letting go, it's replacing. It's replacing noise with silence, reaction with reflection, numbing with presence, blame with responsibility. And the more you do this, the more you realize you were never really broken. You were just covered, buried under years of programming, pain, and pressure, and now you are returning, not to who the world told you to be, but to who you were before the world got to you. This work is spiritual because it requires faith, faith that something better is possible, faith that you are worthy of peace, even if your past tells you otherwise. Faith that every time you choose discipline over destruction, you are stepping into a new reality. The truth is, rebuilding is not glamorous. You'll lose people, you'll shed identities, you'll find yourself alone more often than not. But in that solitude, you will meet your real self. And that man, the one who wakes up early to meet the day, the one who breathes instead of explodes, the one who speaks the truth instead of hiding behind masks, that man is dangerous. Not because he hurts others, but because nothing can break him anymore, because he's been broken, and he rebuilt slowly, honestly, powerfully. This is the long game. There's no shortcut, no cheat code, Just you, your breath, your willingness to sit in discomfort until wisdom reveals itself. The world may never applaud you for this, but your future self will. Every small act compounds, every honest breath rewires. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, you shape a new path not just for yourself, but for those who will follow you. So don't underestimate these quiet days. Don't dismiss the early mornings, the inner battles, the lonely walks, the tearful meditations. These are your sacred hours. This is the forge, and on the other side of this fire is clarity, is peace, is power. So keep going, not loudly, but deeply, because the man who learns to rebuild himself without applause, without permission, without distraction, he is a man who cannot be shaken. Forgiveness, a word that carries so much weight, for many it feels impossible. Why should I forgive someone who hurt me? Why should I let go when they never said sorry? Why should I give peace to the person who gave me pain? But that's the misunderstanding. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. You see, when someone wounds you deeply, it creates a scar not only on your heart, but on your mind. And if you carry that scar without reflection, without healing, you begin to live from it. You don't see the world anymore. You see it through the lens of betrayal, resentment, and hurt. And slowly, the pain that was done to you becomes pain you carry within you. It becomes your armor, your filter, your identity, and that is how pain wins, because pain that is not transformed is transmitted. We repeat the cycle. We punish others for what someone else did. We close off our hearts. We live with tension. And even in our moments of joy, there's always something lingering beneath the surface. But forgiveness is the interruption of that cycle. Not to say what happened was okay, but to say what happened will not control me anymore. Forgiveness is reclaiming your power. Because while resentment feels powerful, it's not. It drains your energy. It binds you to the past. And every time you replay that moment, every time you relive that hurt, you reinforce a version of yourself that is still holding the wound like a sword. But what if you could put the sword down? What if you could release the heaviness, not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve your peace? That is what forgiveness offers, freedom. It is not forgetting. It is not an excuse. It is not reconciling. It is a deliberate decision to no longer let that pain define your future. Sometimes we think holding onto anger protects us. That makes us strong, but real strength is not holding onto pain. It is holding yourself through the pain, then letting it go. You may say, but it still hurts. Of course it does. Forgiveness is not a moment. It is a process. A process of understanding, of grieving, of releasing, and of repeating, until the emotion loses its grip. And sometimes the person you need to forgive is yourself, for the times you stayed too long, for the things you said in anger, for the boundaries you didn't protect, for all the ways you abandoned your soul just to feel loved. You're human. You were doing your best with what you knew at the time. Self-forgiveness is the root of all healing. Because when you truly forgive yourself, you no longer seek punishment, you seek transformation, you begin to grow, you begin to soften, you begin to open again, to life, to love, to possibility. And this is where the magic happens. Not in resisting the past, but in learning from it, letting it go, and creating something entirely new. The man who forgives does not become weak. He becomes light. He becomes unshackled from the past. he becomes immune to the bitterness that poisons so many lives. And that man, the one who carries no grudges, who has made peace with his pain, he is rare. He is powerful, because nothing controls him anymore. So take the time to go within, to feel what's been buried, to grieve what was lost, to confront what you've avoided. Then choose to forgive, not for them, for you. Let it end with you. The resentment, the blame, the anger, let it die in your breath and rise in your peace. You are not weak for letting go. You are wise, you are free to rise in life. Truly rise, not just outwardly, but inwardly. Something must first be released. Most people want to climb, they want success, they want peace, they want love, but they are trying to ascend while carrying too much weight. Old stories, old identities, old relationships, old pain. It's like trying to run with stones in your pockets. You might move, but you'll never move freely. You'll never fly. This is the truth no one likes to talk about to grow. Something must be let go. Sometimes it's an old friendship that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Sometimes it's a habit that once brought comfort but now only brings chaos. Sometimes it's a belief passed to you by others that no longer fits the life you want to live. Letting go doesn't mean erasing your past. It means no longer allowing your past to decide your present. The tree must shed its leaves before winter. Not because the leaves were bad, but it is nature's way of making space for renewal. You too are nature. You are meant to evolve, you are meant to transform, but every transformation has a cost, and that cost is often the version of yourself that got you here, but cannot take you there. This requires honesty. You must look at your life and ask, what am I still holding onto that is holding me back? Sometimes the answer will be obvious. Other times it will be painful, because we grow attached to the very things that wound us. But growth is not comfort. It is surrender. Release is an act of courage, to walk away from what no longer serves you, even when it still feels familiar. To sit in the discomfort of absence instead of filling the void with more noise. To trust that what you release will be replaced with something better, something aligned. But let me be clear, releasing doesn't mean you won't feel fear. You will, but you must walk with it. Because if you only move when there is no fear, you will never move. Fear is not the enemy, attachment is. And so, every day, ask yourself, what am I clinging to that is keeping me small? Is it the version of yourself that plays it safe? The one who avoids risk to avoid failure? The one who keeps people at arm's length to avoid getting hurt? Then understand those protections were once necessary, but now they're cages, and if you want to rise, you must outgrow them. You must step into the unknown with nothing but your breath, your presence, your self-trust. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also how freedom is born, because once you let go of who you think you have to be, you begin to discover who you are. You no longer live for validation, you no longer seek permission, you no longer run from silence. You become empty, and in that emptiness you become full. Full of peace, full of power, full of presence. This is the paradox. The more you release, the more whole you become. So ask yourself today, not just what you want to gain, but what are you willing to lose? Because what you're clinging to may be the very thing stopping your wings from unfolding. Release the story, release the anger, release the fear, and rise. Not because you're perfect, but because you're finally light enough to lift. Self-mastery is not a crown you wear. It is not about status, money, or applause. It is about how you treat yourself when no one is watching. You want to know the level of a man. Listen to how he speaks to himself in silence, in failure, in doubt, in fear. Most men are at war with their minds and they don't even know it. You speak to yourself in ways you would never speak to a friend. You curse yourself in your thoughts. You call yourself weak when you fall short. You shame yourself for not being farther along. And then you wonder why you can't focus. Why do you feel disconnected? Why is your confidence fragile? Understand this. The words you whisper in your mind become the blueprint of your reality. And so if you speak in fear, your life will reflect fear. If you speak in scarcity, your energy will become scarce. If you speak in doubt, your steps will become hesitant. This is not just a mindset. This is spiritual, because the voice you speak to yourself with becomes the voice of your life. Now, this doesn't mean lying to yourself. It doesn't mean repeating empty affirmations while ignoring your wounds. That's not mastery, that's denial. Mastery is being honest with yourself, radically honest, but still speaking with compassion. You can say, I made a mistake, but not, I am a mistake. You can say, I need to grow, but not, I'm worthless where I am. You can say, I have more to learn, but not, I'm never enough. You see the difference. One path leads to evolution, the other to destruction. The words you choose are seeds. You plant them daily in your mind, and they grow. So, what are you growing? If your inner voice is filled with shame, judgment, comparison, you are poisoning your soil. Even if you succeed outwardly, inside, you will always feel empty. But when you master how you speak to yourself with strength, with truth, with presence, you build an inner home that cannot be shaken. You become your ally, not your enemy. You become your mentor, not your critic. And that changes everything. Because life will test you, people will misunderstand you, you will fail, you will fall. But if your inner voice is strong, if it is steady, you will rise every time. It's not about never struggling. It's about never abandoning yourself when you do. So I ask you, how do you speak to yourself when you're alone? When do you miss a goal? When you're heartbroken? When do you feel lost? That is where mastery is measured. It's not measured in public. It's measured in the quiet moments, the mornings you want to give up, but instead you breathe and whisper, just one more step. The nights when the world is silent and you hold your own heart like a warrior in the dark, that is real strength. That is real power. So starting today, speak to yourself with clarity, with kindness, with command. When the doubt arises, you say, I hear you, but I choose courage. When the past tries to haunt you, you say, I honor you, but I no longer live there. When fear whispers lies, you say, I move anyway. This is not easy, but it is necessary, because no one's voice will echo in your life more than your own. Not your parents, not your friends, not your enemies. Your voice is your compass. Make sure it's aligned. Train it like a muscle. Refine it like a blade. Use it like a sacred tool, because the man who masters how he speaks to himself becomes unstoppable. Not because life becomes easy, but because he can walk through any storm and still hear his voice say, we keep going. There comes a moment in every man's life where he realizes no one is coming to save him, not the woman, not the mentor, not the perfect opportunity. It is him. It has always been him. If your mind is chaotic, your life will be too. If your heart is full of pain, you will bleed on everyone who tries to love you. And if you never learn how to face what's within, you will forever be a prisoner to what you refuse to heal. But you still have time, you still have breath, and that means you still have power. Do not waste another day betraying yourself. Silence the noise, sit with your pain. Speak to yourself like a man who wants to rise, not hide, because healing is not weakness. Healing is not soft, healing is the warrior's path. And if you've made it this far in the video, then I know something inside you is ready. Not to stay wounded, but to transform. So take this message and do not keep it to yourself. Share it with a brother who's struggling. Comment below how this spoke to you, because your voice might echo in someone else's darkness. Like this video if it hit your heart. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this path of mastery, of truth, of stillness. And remember, you are not broken. You are becoming.